Oh, okay. Yes. Ready? Perfect. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the study session of the West Valley School Board. It is Tuesday, April 9th, 6 p.m. And I'll call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Changes to the study session agenda.
No changes to the agenda.
Okay. Item 4, communications.
No communications.
Okay. So tonight we have 3 discussion items. These are our annual director's reports. And Dr. Finch, would you like to introduce the program this evening?
Sure. And I think even for the study session, I think it'd be appropriate to excuse the absence of James Kephart. So why don't we take a moment?
We want to do that now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion to excuse Mr. Kephart. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Oh, there's Stephanie. And we'll make another motion when we get to the regular school board meeting. So,
all right, very good. So this study session we have annually. We've tried different formats. So this year we're going to try a format of having each of the directors present just briefly for about 10 minutes and then have an open time for question and answer. We really want this to be an informal time. Really, a study session can be more informal than our regular board meetings. But we would like to start off with having 10 minutes with each of our directors that are here this evening. So our directors are Magdalene Benedicto, Director for Child Nutrition. Then we'll have Jamie Schmidt, Director for Transportation. And then we'll have Jeremy Cox, Director for Information Technology. So each will have about 10 minutes, and then we'll have some open time for question and answer. And we'll just have the board stay here since they have the microphones, and you can go ahead and present. The board has the board packet, and we'll have the projection for the audience. So Magdalene, just go ahead and give us share a little bit. And the format that we're going to have this year is they'll give an overview of the department, and then some work that's been done this year, and then looking towards next year. So you got 10 minutes. I'll give you a 1-minute warning.
I will try. Is this working? Okay. Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to you about our programs. As Peter mentioned, my name is Magdalene Benedicto. I've been with the school district for nearly 10 years. Gosh, Jeremy, we've been here for a decade. I am a registered dietitian, which are trained professionals that specializes in food science and nutrition. I was actually I actually completed my food service rotation through Central Washington University here at West Valley School District about 12 years ago. And so not knowing then, I would return as the director. So it's been a blessing and just an amazing opportunity to be here. I'd like to speak on some key team members of my team. We have Kendall Bierke. She is our child nutrition coordinator. She is also a registered dietitian. She's completed her dietetic internship rotation with me also in spring of 2022 and hired her that summer. We have Lori Munoz. She has been with our department for nearly 8 years, 6 years of that as our child nutrition secretary. We operate a centralized kitchen model, which is located at the junior high. That's where we prepare all our meals, all our entrees, our sauces, our slicing, dicing of our fruits and vegetables. We have 3 very dedicated managers. We have Mary Seibout, who oversees the inventory of our food and supplies. We have Rose Paulin and Kelly Cadusto, who oversees our production kitchen. I just want to mention we have 3 employees, Rose Paulin, Mary Seibout, and Jan Kuzman. She's one of our cooks that have dedicated 30 plus years of their life to our program. So I thought that was really important to mention because we do have some hardworking, very dedicated team members in our department. At the central kitchen, we have 5 cooks that prepare the meals every morning at 5:30 a.m. We have 2 drivers that safely deliver meals to every satellite kitchen and 26 very compassionate frontline employees that serve our students every single day. Our program operates the USDA's National School Lunch and School Breakfast Program, which is a federally meal-assisted program providing nutritionally balanced meals for low cost or no cost at all for our students. We strive to serve meals that are nutritious and appealing, serving whole grains, lean meats, meat alternatives, fruits and vegetables on our salad bars, and milk options. I create our menus and really take pride in our menus, ensuring we do meet the strict specific nutrition requirements by USDA. We meet our weekly and daily requirements for the 5 food components and our weekly requirements for saturated fat, sodium, and calories. Last spring, Washington legislature passed House Bill 1878, which allows us to serve our students, 6 out of the 9 schools, meals at no cost, which are at Tanum, Mountain View, Summit View, White Hollow, the middle level campus, and Innovation Center. Just looking forward to next school year, we'll also be able to serve Apple Valley and Cottonwood free meals next school year. So that will be all schools but high school receiving free meals. So that is just beneficial for our students, of course, and our program. This school year, we've really worked on just improving some of the initiatives that we've implemented for many years. But this school year, I do want to mention that we've really worked on scratch cooking, introducing new recipes to our menus, using wholesome, fresh ingredients, and just improving the food quality of our meals. Currently we serve approximately 1,200 breakfast meals and 2,850 lunch meals each day. And we just try to figure out, ways to improve improve participation. Whether, our students, pizza, chicken nuggets, cheeseburgers, those are the kind of meals that they want. But also my goal is to just really introduce, some of the healthier options that we can control some of the nutrient components or, controlling the allergens that go into our meals as well. One of the initiatives that is dear to my heart, the Farm to School initiative. We started this back in 2017 with our Harvest of the Month. I was born and raised in the farming community of Wapto. My family has been farming for nearly 50, 60 years in Wapto. So it just gives me a unique perspective on, the importance of nutritious meals and sustainable practices. We continue to increase student participation through taste testings. We've also been meeting with leadership groups at several schools here in our district. Taste testings not only provide the students an opportunity to taste the meals or taste the new food options that may potentially make it into our menu, but also empower them in shaping the offerings of our kitchen, offering the food choices in our kitchens. We also implemented the culturally inclusive recipe contest this last fall. We didn't get the participation we'd like, but we did get 2 awesome, delicious recipes from that contest, the butter chicken and beef stroganoff, which have been menued this school year. We also have our upcoming junior chef competition in May. So May 1st, April 15th is our deadline where students can submit recipes, and then we will select the top 3 to 4 teams and invite them to our May 1st competition at the Innovation Center, where they will actually prepare the meals and present them to judges. So I do have an extra spot on our judging panel. So if you are available on May 1st, who doesn't want to eat? So you can go ahead and contact me if you are available on May 1st. Also, we really prioritize dietary accommodations, making sure we meet the diverse needs of our students, whether it's gluten-free, dairy intolerances, or egg-free, or a combination of all. We are seeing a lot of the need for dietary accommodations. And lastly, just promoting our program, just raising awareness of our initiatives, encouraging participation and showcasing the benefits of our nutrition program. Through our monthly newsletters, social media platforms. I won't take credit for those. Kendall Bierke is our creative backbone for our department. She creates our beautiful monthly menus, our newsletters, and so forth. And also just raising awareness for National Nutrition Month, which was last month. We collaborated with Ram Landing in a district-wide food drive. Revenue and expenditures. So we are self-sustaining. Last school year, we brought in about $2.9 million. However, we were in the deficit of $169,000, but that was just, of course, due to high food costs. We had some major equipment replacement purchases at the end of the school year. However, we do have some reserves from just maintaining a positive fund balance from previous years. A few things we've used to stay within our budget is utilizing our entitlement dollars and using grant funds, and also participating in interlocal co-op. We are the lead agency for the Central Washington Interlocal Co-op. We have 9 school districts actually participating in our co-op for fresh produce and milk products. Our program goals, again, is just centered around continuing to increase participation through the initiatives discussed on the last slide. Just continue to improve school meals, the quality of school meals, promoting sustainable food systems, reducing food waste, transitioning from reusable trays to our foam trays to reusable trays, which we've started this school year. And providing nutrition education, whether it's in the classroom or through our taste testings or our meetings with leadership groups. And lastly, just establishing more collaborative partnerships with farmers, local farmers, community organizations, health providers. And so, yeah, those are just some of the goals that we want to continue moving forward.
All right. Very good job. 10 minutes. Perfect. Nice modeling.
She's
All right.
making Jeremy
Jane-
and I look bad. I'm
Jamie
like, how does
Schmidt?
she look up and talk and then find her place again?
Jamie Schmidt, Transportation.
Thank you, Peter. Good evening. My name is Jamie Schmidt, Director of Transportation. I've been with the district just finishing up my 6th year, so that's hard to believe. I come from SELA, was there for 7 years as a coordinator and took over for April Heiser back in 2018. My goals this year were to continue developing a strong and efficient department with not only the transportation staff, but the community as well. That's very important to me, to have positive interaction with our community. As this year's coming to an end, I feel like we've been able to meet those standards and more. My objective this evening is to give you a basic overview of what transportation does. With our different staff member roles and within our department, share some of our accomplishments and some of our future goals with you as well. Our inter-office personnel, I'll start off by sharing that all of our office staff have licensed CDL holders, everybody minus our secretary position. So any one of our staff can go out and fill a seat if we have a driver shortage. That's been critical this year. But I think having that dual purpose really has saved us this year, especially. Deborah Boyle, she's been, again, one of those 30+ year employees. She's my coordinator, my right-hand man, basically. She's been with the district for, I think this is her 33rd year. So she drove for about 30 years, and she's been my coordinator the last few years. She does all of the coordinating for all of our special needs routes, our pre-K, TK routes, our anything McKinney-Vento, homeless, foster, that kind of thing. She's our guru. She makes sure that all of our paperwork that we need from each school or teacher is done and bundled up, ready to go. So if we get audited, we have that paperwork to back that up and show why those kids are on that bus. Darla Dugas is our transportation secretary. She juggles many different hats, some of that include payroll, accounts payable, receivable. She answers the phone calls, radios when buses are out on. She does all the dispatch with the radios for the bus drivers. She's going to be retiring. She's another one. She drove, I believe, 28 years and has been with our district for 30+ years and will be retiring at the end of this school year. So she'll have big shoes. Somebody's going to have big shoes to fill for sure. Michelle Stapleton is our PBIS discipline specialist, driver trainer. Michelle handles all student discipline and parent communication for the school buses, as well as overseeing our PBIS, which I don't know if all of you know what that is, Positive Behavior Intervention Support Program. She does an outstanding job communicating with administrators at the school, as well as with the public and parents. That's a tough job. She does a very good job. Glenda Berry, she's our Washington State Certified Driver Trainer. She's responsible for training all new hires and preparing them for the third-party state test. The state's let up a little bit on that test. This year there were some changes. They can have a little bit of a cheat sheet with them. It's an oral test and a behind-the-wheel training test. And there's about 13 pages of information that you have to reiterate to a third-party tester. And you can say too much, but if you leave something out, it's an automatic. There's a point system, but at some points there's automatic fail. So it's something that she really has prepared these testers for and has a pretty darn good success rate. She's a good trainer and we're lucky to have her. Let's see, training shop mechanics, our transportation mechanics. Our fleet continues to grow, and so does the workload for our mechanics. We're busy in our shop, keeping up with repairs and services. Our transportation department staffs 2 full-time mechanics, and we just had our mandatory winter inspections with Washington State Patrol. We had 0 out of service, 0 unsats, so that's very good. Our full fleet in the winter, that's a surprise inspection. They do a certain percentage of the fleet, depending on how many vehicles you have in your fleet. And then in the summertime, they go through every single vehicle in our district that transports a student. And we have to pass their inspections, and that will happen for us May 20th, 21st, and 22nd this year. Currently, we have 30 contracted drivers and 7 substitute bus drivers. At this time, our district has 86 general education bus routes, 24 special need routes, and 6 preschool routes. What that means for us, West Valley School District currently has a fleet of 50 buses, 7 motor pool vehicles, We received 2 full-size buses this year, and we're preparing to order 2 more buses to be delivered during the next school year. One bus will be an 84-passenger trip bus that will eventually, what happens with those, they start out as a trip bus, they have the lowest miles, and then they'll gradually be integrated into the fleet to become a route bus. We want our most dependable buses out on those roads when they're transporting the kids the furthest away. And then we're going to do a sped/preschool bus that can be accommodated for either the littles or the bigs. They have integrated harnesses or shoulder lap belts, so they can be used both ways. And that'll be a 16-passenger bus, and our pre-K program is growing, so it'll be important to have that equipment. Funding this year, we've transported an average of 3,533 students to and from school each day. The bus drivers make 1,974 bus stops daily. Our department funding is based off of student ridership. Our drivers count all of the riders. I have to report to the state 3 times a year. Our ridership counts, latitude and longitude of every single bus stop, and on a map what their destination is and what school they go to. So every single student is accounted for. They also reviewed our transportation efficiency. They look at that annually. They look at how efficiently we're operating. The process sets a target for transportation expenditures and the number of buses operated. West Valley's transportation efficiency rating is at 100% again this year. So the miles in between stops, how many routes does it take to make that happen? How many, those stops, that 1,900 bus stops, that's what they're looking at and how efficiently we're making that happen. Growing ridership, I will be, or somebody from a representative from transportation will be attending all of the kinder open houses this year. We've been invited by principals and staff to attend that, which I like to do and kind of get with the parents and explain the expectations, bus rules. A parent has to meet their kinder at the bus stop in the afternoon, so we're not releasing a 5-year-old or 6-year-old to, there's somebody needs to be there to meet that child. So we like to go over those expectations and get them set up. And then over the summer, I look at their bus stop, make sure it's safe. And if we need signage for bus stop ahead, that kind of thing. There's a lot of different things we look at. I contact those parents directly and give them new pickup and drop off times, that kind of thing, and get them set up in the system. We use positive behavior intervention and support. The continuation of our PBIS program has been a huge success again this year. The bus drivers are required to complete 1 to 2 positive WOW calls every week. A WOW call is calling a parent and recognizing something that a student has done well. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the student that's been best for, the whole week. It could be a student that's struggling, and we want to recognize something that they've done well, so that those parents aren't always the ones that are getting the negative call to say, somebody's done something wrong, and they know that we're there for the success and safety of their student. We also do a Rider of the Week. They get a little prize and a certificate. A lot of thought and effort is put into those. We do Rider of the Month, where we recognize a rider. They get their picture taken with the bus driver. A certificate gets made, the picture gets blown up, and it gets sent to the schools, hand delivered, and is given to that student in front of their peers or at their monthly little, what are they called? When they meet in the gym and have an assembly. Thank you. Sheesh. We equip the helpers. We also, last year, one of my goals was to have helpers on the bus set up where they could have an older student sit with a younger student that was maybe struggling to maintain behavior on the bus. We actually accomplished that. We have helpers on every one of our routes now. They will sit and read a story with the student that might be struggling. They can color whatever activity they might have that can be done on the bus safely while they're traveling down the road. And it's made a huge difference. It's helping the drivers be able to focus on the road instead of focusing on the child that's being disruptive and causing an unsafe environment. It's been very successful. We are wanting to expand our PBS positive behavior program, again, by adding special cards that can be handed out to students caught being good. This is something we as a team are working on developing. Lots of positive things are happening with PBIS. Student discipline is down this year. It's something that I want to track this next year because we keep track of anybody that's been suspended or what kind of discipline there's been. And it's tremendously down from last year. And I know it's because we're being consistent with discipline. Drivers are enforcing the rules the same across the board. We're recognizing good things and people want to be a part, the kids want to be a part of the good, fun things. And next year, I'm hoping to be able to actually look at numbers and say, we're down this many. So it's been 2 years since we introduced PBIS. In this third year, I really want to start being able to track, look at the difference. We've gone from hundreds down. So I'll wrap it up, Peter. Thank you. I feel our biggest accomplishment this year has been implementing the high school shuttle down to the mid-level campus. We're getting all of our high school students on their buses home at the high school instead of offloading every student at the mid-level campus, releasing the mid-level students, and then having them all reload a bus home. So, there was 1,000+ kids out in that parking lot at one time. 95% of that is staying on the bus now by being able to load those older kids at the high school. So that was a huge accomplishment. It took a lot of work from a lot of different people, and we met that goal. Safety, so that's a huge student safety positive. Future goals, we're looking to hiring a few more substitute bus drivers. Our goal is to conduct a training towards the middle of summer so that new drivers are licensed and prepared to start driving at the beginning of this next school year. Overall, I feel like our department has accomplished a lot this year, especially experiencing driver shortages. I'm very proud to say that West Valley School District didn't have to cancel a single route this year. Compared to many districts, that's a huge accomplishment. We're given one of the greatest responsibilities, and that's making sure that the community's most precious cargo makes it to and from school safely. Our group comes together as a team to always be sure that the job not only gets done, but it gets done safely as well. I've been blessed with an amazing team to work with, and I'm looking forward to setting the standard even higher this next year. Thank you.
All right, very good. And now we'll have Jeremy Cox. Go ahead and move the mic there so we
Sorry.
can hear him. And about 10 minutes here with Jeremy, and then we'll have some time for just some informal question and answer after Jeremy's done.
Good afternoon. I'm Jeremy Cox, the Director of IT, or I like to say Director of IT. I just want to start off by saying I'm lucky to be part of a team with these two amazing gals. They do some great work for their departments, and they're a real blessing for the district. So just want to throw that one out there. Like I said, I'm Jeremy Cox. I'm Director of IT. I currently have an MBA and currently hold a CISP, which is a cybersecurity certificate from the ISC squared, which is an international cybersecurity agency. I have a network administrator on my team. His name is Jason Keisner. He's been in IT a lot longer than I have. I've been with the district myself. I'm the senior director now. I have a few months on Magdalene, so in June it'll be 10 years. But I've been in IT well over 20 at this point now. I don't like saying that, but it's true. Jason, my network administrator, has been in the IT world just a couple years longer than I have, so he's got quite a bit of experience there. I have a couple of ITS fours, system specialists. I have a Tyler who's in charge of Tyler Vetch, who's in charge of all of our systems, servers, operating system deployments, you name it, he can pretty much do it. A lot of our online curriculum, he knows how to support. He does a little bit of everything. Sean Phillips is our operations guy. He's in charge of our help desk, our ticketing system, and manage that. He also does some of the systems that overlaps with Tyler. We like to have redundancy, so if somebody's gone, somebody else can take over their role. So Sean kind of does some of that overlay for Tyler's work. Also have a student records system admin, which is Magdalena Sanchez. She really is in the student records department, which I also do supervise with Lori Jones. Her job is really student records, really the teacher side of it, the state reporting type things, the CEDARS reports and all that stuff. She's in charge of getting our data out of Skyward into our online curriculums, our Remind, our messaging systems, our EDS, all the different systems that we support. She's in charge of making sure all that works, all that fun stuff. It's a lot of work. She's actually retiring in October, so we're fortunate enough to hire a new person. The new person starts next month to give us some time to actually train the new person to kind of learn some of that knowledge that we're going to lose when Magdalena leaves. So it's going to be a big loss to the district, but hopefully this new person can fill the reins a little bit. I also have a cybersecurity person. He just started just about 6 months ago. He's a new position, not new position, but a new take on the position. I had another system, ITS4, took some of the roles from that job and put it in cybersecurity. So we have now a person that's dedicated solely on our cybersecurity focused stuff. There's a lot of things to cybersecurity. We'll talk about that here in a minute. I have 3 IT specialists, Carlos Alvarez, Cooper Maloney, and Angel Preciado. I typed his name wrong. This should be a capital P, not a little p. But those 3 guys are basically the muscle of the IT department. They're the ones that go out to the buildings every day. They're the one people see most of the time. They do the lion's share of the physical work for our department. So those 3 guys, they do a lot for us. The rest of us, more high level thought process that we can spend 8 to 10 hours on one task. They're doing 100 different tasks. So it's those guys are crucial for our department. And we also have an IT apprentice. Currently, we just had one that his apprenticeship ended last week. We just had another one start, and both of them have been from the IC, or the Innovation Center, and they work for us after, I think they noon 30, like 12:30 or 1, somewhere at the time. They come and show up at our office, and they work on Chromebooks and do other tasks that we have for them. So the CTE program's helping us sustain that program. That way, these kids in the IT programs are getting real world experience, and they can come real close to a few feet from their building and come and learn actual IT work. So it's kind of a cool thing. We just started it this semester, so this is only the 2nd person, so we're still trying to develop it, but we do have one. So we support the 9 of us support well over 10,000 devices, from clocks to buses to cameras, switches, routers, servers, Chromebooks, you name it. We have tons of things. Moisture sensors. We just installed some moisture sensors in Cottonwood and White Hollow. There's tons and tons of devices on our network, so we have to support the connectivity of all of those devices, the security of all those devices. So it's a pretty big undertaking for such a small team. If you were looking at like a private sector, we'd have probably 3 times as many staff as we have, and probably 3 times the funding as well. So we do a lot with a little bit, and we try to do our best to make that happen. So some of our department goals, it's been my past goal for the last since COVID really, is to tighten our cybersecurity defense. Since COVID, school districts have been targeted highly by cyber criminals out there, and it makes sense because we're soft targets. We have little funding, little staff, and we have lots and lots of devices. So we have lots and lots of data. You think about how much data we have on staff, student, parents. There's a lot of information out there. So we're soft targets. So we have to spend our time and effort to making sure that we're not getting compromised. So we spend a lot of effort and thought and time on trying to make that happen. So these clocks, every one of those clocks is a potential vulnerability. So we have to make sure that clock can't get to places it shouldn't get to, or that camera can't get to places it can't. Default configurations. There's so many different things that go into just a deployment of a single device that you have to take in consideration. Updating the firmwares. I can talk forever on this. It's pretty boring stuff if you ask me, but I'm sure you don't want to hear it. But there's lots to it. So that's our continuing goal. That's one of the reasons why I received my CISP. I want to say last year. I think I did it last year. So I focused on getting that certificate and accomplishing that. So just to kind of make sure that I had that skill set. So that's one of the things I worked on. This past this January, I would say we finished your department in January. So we deployed MFA for all of our district staff for multi-factor authentication. Technically it's 2-factor authentication. So we're asking for their username and password, and then we're asking them to approve it on another device, whether it be a Chromebook or their Windows laptop or desktop or their mobile phone, so they can do that authentication. That right there is a huge step forward as far as security. Passwords are no longer secure. They're a false sense of security. Even if you have a 60-character password, it's easily compromised. MFA is the next route, and we need to start moving that way for even our students, but that's a whole other nightmare. So I can't even begin to think that one. But it's definitely, if you're at home and you have a device, if you have a bank account or whatever, if you don't have it already, turn it on. I highly recommend it. One of the things that my staff do is we create a newsletter, much like Magdalene, it was her ideas that we stole it. We create a semi-monthly, maybe a quarterly, depending on how much time we have, newsletter that we promote certain topics. Cybersecurity is always on that list, so we want to focus that. We've updated our next generation firewall, and deployed it on our network edge. We also have an internal firewall and a firewall at our transportation department. So every single one of our networks is protected by an internal firewall, external firewall, and then there's even other firewalls depending on, like, it's wireless clients all have not firewalls but access control lists on each of them. So even if you're connected to to an access point, you don't really have access unless you meet all the rules that we speculate. With those next generation firewalls and all the firewalls, it adds a lot of complexity to our network. So we have a very complex network, which means it takes a lot of thought and efforts to make something work. It's not just a flick of the switch and it magically works. You have to, sometimes it takes hours and hours and hours to figure out how to make it all work and make it work securely. And then we also implemented some CIS controls, which is a cybersecurity framework. So we follow for our help desk and ticketing system. We have a framework that we follow, that best practices of this is how you track, you do all the different steps for following and supporting large organizations. We also do that for our cybersecurity. So we're following those frameworks. So we're implementing best practices. We're doing internal scans for for vulnerability scans. We're working with CISA to do an actual penetration test. We have an MDR in our which is a managed detection and response system that is basically, it's antivirus. It's the next generation of antivirus software on all of our servers and our computers out there. So if something's happening, we can see that that nefarious things happening. So we're taking all those and we're using that framework to kind of build our cybersecurity footprint. So, and then continual improvement. See, I remember what I wrote here. Disaster. So we're updating our business continuity and disaster recovery and cybersecurity incident response plans. We already have them established for our IT department. What happens if we have a virus? What happens if we have an actual known infection and compromise? What happens if we have flood or fire or whatever? So we already have those for our business or for the actual IT portions of it. Now the next phase is to actually get it out to our admin staff, our superintendent and assistant superintendents, and kind of getting them involved, finance department and all that, trying to get the insurances and all that stuff. So we all know what's going to happen when something like this happens. Communication to lawyers, communication to the public, all that different things. So we kind of have that plan kind of built. So it's not about, they say it's not an if, it's a when for school districts of when you're going to get compromised. Average is like $1.2 million per incident. So it's been quite a few incidents over the past 4 years. I know San Diego or LA for sure got hit big with a huge one. So it's a real thing. It's a real threat. In December, I believe, right before winter break, we had we learned of a hacking organization that was actively attacking and targeting school districts, specifically school districts that use Google, and that they're targeting the student accounts. So we learned what their attack vector was and how they were doing it, and we made changes right before winter break to increase our security for well, we did it for our secondary students because they're the ones that have the most access and the most vulnerable because they have Google email and all that stuff. So we targeted those students. We changed their passwords. We made them longer. We made it so they're less that hacking organization would have a harder time compromising an account. So we're seeing those things, we're learning about them, and we're trying to take steps to mitigate them. And then
just real quick on the plans for next year, I guess. Is that where the next?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, there we go. And then continued improvement, always improve our cybersecurity. Our phone system, we have a 20-year-old phone system. Most of our phones are 20 years old. So my next big project is to get rid of our phone system and upgrade it to a newer one that's not 20 years old. I mean, our phones are they're falling apart. We're unable to buy new ones without redoing licensing. So we're at the point where we only have a handful of phones left that we can keep our fleet active. So we're kind of up against it now. So we have to do that. Part of the phone system as well is you have to worry about all the different laws and regulations when it goes to phone messaging. So we dial 911. You have to be able to dial 911 from a phone. You can't just dial 911 like you would dial to get out of ours. So it's always, you have to be able to dial 911. I think that's Katie's law, I believe it is. You also have to be able to identify where the phone is in the building so first responders can get to that location and see it from the PSAT or the 911 dispatch center. So lots of laws and regulations that go around phone systems. So that's something that we're going to be hopefully doing next year. And then we're working on with E-rate to get funding. You guys have already approved the bid I think a couple months ago to secure that E-rate funding for our aging network infrastructure. And then a big focus for me is staff professional development for my IT department because, like I said, we support 10,000 devices and it's constantly changing. So we want to make sure that we're keeping up on that professional development and keeping them up to date and ready to go. There you go.
All right,
That's all I've
very
got.
good. Well done. All right, now we do have some time here just for informal. We want to have it more like a study session and less like the regular board meeting. So if the board members would like to start, any questions you have for the team here?
I've got a question for you, Madgeline. When you are aware of a special needs dietary restriction, what's the process that it goes on to becoming part of the menu? And does that affect all of the menus or just that school?
No. So if a student has a life-threatening food allergy or intolerance, we require them to request a doctor's note, which will have, they'll list what they can have or what they can't have. And so from then we actually create a special menu for them. So it wouldn't impact our regular school lunch or breakfast menu.
Okay.
We have, right now about 8 different special dietary menus, egg-free, gluten-free, dairy-free.
Yeah.
Like I said, a combination of 3 or 4 of the different intolerances. And so we accommodate for that specific student. We have a student that can't have corn, wheat, egg, dairy. And so it makes it really hard for us to, find things that
Yeah.
are within our budget to prepare for those meals. But we work alongside the parents and figure out what they eat at home to provide them meals that they will eat in our schools.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, I have a question. Jamie, is for you. I've always been curious about our buses. Do they get rotated, or is it the same route, the same bus every day, or do you size them based on the needs of the week or a day?
They stay the same. So routes, for example, Route 1, I happen to have Bus 1 on that route. I look at things like, are we on dirt roads, abated roads, paved roads? Are we town? Are we country? What are my older buses? Who can handle going down south of Tannum? Which one's older that I would rather put on south of Tannum than our brand new bus going down that road? We have a hybrid bus that doesn't have the capacity to go a large amount of miles. So I put that one at Wide Hollow. We have one bus out of Wide Hollow, and it can handle the little area that we do bus for that school. There's lots of different things that we look at. Our Tampico route has to have a specialized bus that can handle the deeper snow. It's higher up off the ground. It has a Jake brake, so when they're coming down those hills in the winter, they can use a compression brake. There's lots of different things that we look at. Capacity. I need my full capacity buses on my routes that have larger in-town capacity versus buses that might go further out, longer distance, but not as many people. So there's lots of things to consider.
So I have a couple more questions.
Go ahead.
Just curious for me.
Sure.
Are all the buses driven every day?
Most. I have maybe 5 buses on my back line, and those are sub buses. So if we have a mechanical breakdown or a bus is in for service or getting tires or whatever it might be, we can sub that bus out. If I have a bunch of trips going out, sub drivers would take those sub buses. We have special trip buses. We have bus 96 and 97. That's all they do is go on trips, sports trips, field trips, that kind of thing. We try to, a lot of drivers have seating charts on their buses. So if they're taking a trip bus, I'll put the sub in their route bus so that they have that driver's seating chart because the kids are used to that. So most every single bus, you have to have spares. If we have a breakdown with the little bus, our medium-sized buses, our full-size buses, you have to have spares to be able to back up if there is a breakdown out on the road, an accident that might take a bus out until it's repaired. So we have probably, I would say, 7 sub buses that rotate out for our big buses, and then ample amount of the smaller buses to take the place if there's a mechanical breakdown.
Sounds like a well-ordered process. One last question for you. Do we use any electric vehicles in any of our fleet at all?
We have a hybrid bus, but no electric buses yet. And I'm actually starting the process of working with the PUD. I do not believe that we have the infrastructure to support electric buses. I'm kind of neutral on that. I'm educated. I've looked at the grants and different things, but if you don't have the resources to do the infrastructure, and I've had people give me advice to wait and let some of these trials work out the quirks before we make the investment. And I think that's wise advice. We do things a little bit different to help our atmosphere, our emissions. We order buses with Wabascos on them. A Wabasco heater helps warm all of the fluids throughout a bus in the wintertime. They plug in at night. That heater's on a timer. It comes on 30 minutes before the drivers get there, or however you program it. And that warms all of the fluids throughout that bus. So you don't have to have an idling bus, which helps our emissions tremendously.
And lastly, so the transportation department, you handle more than just the buses, right? Our fleet of vans and
We have
smaller things, right? So none of those are electric either? at this
No,
point?
no,
this
we
point.
have all, because we need the larger passenger vehicles to support, say, ASB leadership is a good one too. They've got 14 members, so they have 2 drivers and they take 7 passengers in each SUV instead of using a bus so that we're more efficient.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
I have a
you.
question for trips. Do we always use our own buses? I know some districts will charter a bus
I
for
haven't
a
chartered
trip.
a trip since before COVID and I don't want to. It's very expensive.
Yes,
And I
yeah.
feel like it takes away from our drivers being able to
Good.
make a
Thank
living.
you.
Being able to support our schools and not charter is a huge accomplishment. And as long as we've got the drivers to cover those trips, God willing, I will do that.
Good, thank you. And
Oh, go ahead.
I didn't have another question, but just hearing this has been very educational. I just want to say thank you to all 3 of you for the professionalism and so much detail goes in. It's a huge, huge amount of work, it looks like to me. And thank you so much.
Thank you. And I would just like to say, if any of you would ever like to stop by transportation and see what we do, I would gladly show you around and our facility. It's a huge undertaking, and all of us have large responsibilities and would love to, I know I would love to share what we do.
I do have one last question, I promise. At one point, we were having trouble getting drivers. Have we pretty much conquered that issue, or is it still a lingering problem?
It's still a lingering problem. I feel like we've been pretty successful in what we're doing. I have all of our routes filled right now, and I have 3 contracted sub-driving positions available. But we do have subs that are retired grandfathers in our district, retired bus drivers in our district. We have a few different women that are helping us out that are stay-at-home moms. And it's been enough to get us through. And then with myself and our discipline liaison and our driver trainer and our coordinator all having their CDLs, I've driven this year, and it's the first time I've had to drive in a few years, but I absolutely love it. And it's fun to get away from my desk and get dirty with the drivers once in a while. And it's not ideal, but it's a nice cushion to be able to have us all be able to back up. We just had a successful driver pass this last Monday of spring break. So we had a driver return from medical leave. So, those seats, filling those seats is huge. And we're just kind of on the fence right now. It's towards the end of the school year. Do you want to start another class of training drivers and then lose them over the summer, or wait till summer and build that base right when school gets ready to start, so you can put these green drivers right on the road and get them some experience? So that being said, our driver trainer's done a great job at keeping our seats filled. I would like a couple more for backup. I don't want to worry about that. And I don't ever want to tell the kids no for a trip or whatever it might be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll thank my fellow board members. They actually asked some of the questions that I was going to ask, but I'd like to start with a couple of comments. First of all, a couple of thanks to all of you. I really appreciate, number one, how, and maybe this wasn't intentional, each one of the three of you introduced your team before you started talking about your program. And I really appreciate that, because one of the things that's really cool about tonight that illustrates is that it takes so much to pull off school every single day. And without without the departments that you lead, we couldn't pull this off every single day, which is, when you think about everything that goes into it, is kind of a minor miracle. So I just want to say thank you for acknowledging your team, and just maybe a specific word of thanks to Jamie that I can remember some past transportation reports that you've given to the school board that at least what I hear tonight, we seem to be trending in a better direction relative to disciplinary issues on the bus. And that pleases me a great deal. And I'm sure it pleases the rest of the school board members as well. But thank you to you and your team for your continued efforts with regard to that. It's very important. There's been, not here in our district, thankfully, but there have been incidents where that's not a positive situation. So, thank you for highlighting that.
I appreciate that. And I just want to say it's because of his support and Peter's support. Without William and Peter supporting us in that and backing us up when we need it, he's taught me not to dig my heels in so much, but being able to be consistent with parents and students and trying to always do the right thing, and coming from a safety aspect. Our biggest goal is getting these kids to and from safely, and being able to be consistent and having a plan over these last few years. I've seen the impact it's made, and it's been positive.
Yeah, thank you. So just a couple of questions, and I'll start with Magdalene first. So how do we go about trying to figure out how much we need to make on a daily basis?
Every day is a challenge trying to determine how many students to serve, or how many meals to prepare. But I create a 4-week cycle menu. So every 4 weeks it just repeats. So we use historical data to figure out how many meals to prepare for the day.
And if we, I guess, underestimate, so we have leftovers at the end of the day, what happens to our usable food waste, if you will? That's probably not the correct term of art, so I apologize.
Yeah, so if there's any leftovers food, like here at Apple Valley, we would just toss it. We can't, unfortunately, save it and just give it away because it is federal funds. So unfortunately, it does go to waste. I know we've been looking into working with other organizations out here in Yakima, and we've worked with some like Camp Hope, where they come in and pick up some meals, especially like during spring break and things like that, where they can come pick up like extra milk cartons or leftover milk cartons, or a few bags of lettuce, and that's to the extent of what we can do for our meals, leftover meals.
Yeah. Okay.
Staying within those rules and regulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Jamie, you were kind of asked a little bit earlier about electric buses and hybrid buses, and it's, so from my seat, thinking about it from a budgetary standpoint, obviously, this is going to sound, of course, we care about the environment from the gasoline standpoint. I totally resonate with what you're saying. Like, we don't want to be the first one to jump in the pool of electric buses, and there's infrastructure and the repair, and that's a whole nother thing. I guess my question is so the hybrid buses are interesting to me. Are those diesel or are they gasoline?
It's diesel,
Okay.
and they've got limitations. They've got a
Mhm.
purpose.
That was going to be my question.
They've
was,
got a
tell me about
purpose.
the limitations.
What I'm using our hybrid bus for, and granted, that's a 10-year-old bus.
Yeah.
So they've made huge improvements.
For
But
sure.
what I'm using it for is what it's meant to do. It's meant for inner city. It's meant for stop after stop after stop in a short distance. But some of our buses travel 100 miles a day. Our electric buses are not going to do that for us right now. From what I've been told and the education that I've received, and I am trying to keep myself in the loop
Right.
in being educated on this, they're having issues. And I've heard some good things. I've heard, pros and cons. One of the cons is a bus can't make it through an AM route and a PM route without being back on a charger. When you're
Yeah.
running that many buses,
Right.
how do you do that?
Right.
And for me, in my opinion, coming out of recovering economically from coming out of COVID and losing my ridership funding, because ridership for our department's based off the number of students that ride, we went to 0. So it was rebuilding all of that. I can't justify our district spending the kind of money it takes to get that infrastructure up. And I'm working with PUD to find out if we can even have the
Right.
infrastructure available
Right.
there. We are definitely limited to resources at our location.
Right. Right.
And I will keep you guys updated on that. I'm doing my research and I'm getting educated so
Yeah.
that we're making the right decisions.
Well, of course, and then of course the technology is improving, and
There's other choices besides electric that are better for our economy, and they're gas buses.
Right.
There's a lot of things that they're doing different. So it doesn't mean that we have to make an electric bus investment. There's other options that we can do to help our environment, and we're looking at those too. We're getting close to making some of those decisions.
Thank you. Well, it's very interesting. I find it interesting just from the transportation, aspect. If we can have more fuel efficient, that doesn't necessarily mean all electric.
Exactly. There's a lot of different choices, and when it comes time, I'll bring that information to you guys and educate you, and you guys will ultimately make that decision.
Right.
So
Thank you. Those were the questions that I had and comments. Thank you very much. I'm going to say this is one. I shouldn't say this, but I will. This is one of my favorite presentations that we do, because again, it takes so much to make school happen, and y'all are a very essential part of that. And you have our sincere thanks for the work that you're doing. And to have not just directors that have been with the district now a long time. I mean, as you said, your team is committed a great deal of professional lives to the district as well. And so that's very appreciated and noticed. So thank you very much.
thank you.
All right, so it is 6:56. We'll take a 4-minute break, and we'll start at the top of the hour of the regular school board meeting. Okay. All right. I don't have the official gavel to call the meeting to order, but I'll call the meeting to order. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular school board meeting of the West Valley School District Board of Directors. It's Tuesday, April 9th, 7 p.m. I'll call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get going, I'll make a motion to excuse Mr. Kephart this evening. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries to excuse Mr. Kephart. I'm looking, oh, there's Stephanie. She moved 4-0. Dr. Finch informed me that we are going to add an item, a new item 12, which will be an executive session for the performance of a public employee. So that'll become item 12 and item 13, and we'll come out of executive session taking no action. And item 13 will be adjournment. No other changes this evening?
No other changes?
Okay. Next up is communications. Dr. Finch?
First, we have a response to public comment. So at the school board meeting on March 26th, a community member provided suggestions for additional ways to collect and disaggregate data. So the response is that the district will consider the collection and disaggregation of data that were suggested by the community member and the suggestions that were made by school board members at the most recent data summit. At the next data summit, the district will add information about college persistence, registered apprenticeship placements, updated FAFSA completion data, and additional data regarding placement for special education students in the least restrictive environment. That concludes the response to public comment.
Thank you, Dr. Finch. And then item 5B is asset prevention program.
Yes, we need to have for the record, and so we'll include this in the minutes, that there was this communication from our Assistant Superintendent of Business Operations, Joe Conley, and Facilities Director, Jack McCaskill, regarding the asset prevention program. So there needs to be a report to the board, which we're doing right now, considering the assessment of the high school done annually. So the review is included, and the high school maintains a good rating of 90%. The 2024 BCA certification will be completed over the summer by a selected certified assessor. So we just want to include that as communications.
Can I ask a question about that to Mr. Conley?
Certainly.
So the high school is reviewed. What about the other buildings in the district?
Go ahead and use the mic if you could, Joe, so the streaming can hear you.
It's only state match. So anything that was on state match that was used. So it's only the high school as it stands right now. The Summit View and Apple Valley will be on later. So
Okay.
it takes a few years before it gets on the asset prevention because it's done every 6 years. So
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
thank you, Joe. That was a good question. You learn something new every day.
All right. Item 6, school presentation. We are thrilled to be at Apple Valley this evening. Dr. Finch?
Yes, yeah, we're great to be here at Apple Valley. Great to be in one of our new schools, as Joe said. We have Principal Heidi Sutton along with her team from Apple Valley. We're going to go ahead and ask the board to join the audience so we can see the PowerPoint, and appreciate Heidi and her team in their preparations for tonight's presentation.
Stetsy, do you mind? I'm wondering if there's something still connected with yours. Do you know if yours? The PowerPoint is not the biggest part of ours, so we can. Good evening. I'll work on it while they get up here because I don't want to waste our time. And it's funny that it's our system that I can't seem to get to work. So I think that's just, par for the course. First of all, it's so great having our new members here. We took a tour throughout our building, and of course, Mark and Mr. Thorner are very familiar with our building. And we have some staff members who joined us as well. So I thank them. I have a great team who are going to do the presentation tonight. Ours is on just our start of the day. I had a great example today, just like you guys probably did, right? You walk into a social event, you walk into a game, you walk into a church service, you walk into even a social gathering. You don't just sit down and start the gathering, right? You want to communicate, you want to say hello to the person. We decided a few years ago that that was big to us. That was so important to us, somewhat after COVID. And we realized our little people were really lacking in those communication objectives, just their ability to communicate, their ability to problem solve, their ability to just talk with one another. This morning I had a meeting, and at 8:00, right? 8:00, it was time to go. But everybody at those tables were so engaged in just, hey, how are you? What's going on in your life? Everything else that, you wait a few minutes and you want to have social communication. So we decided a couple years ago, actually Brandy Vanderbrake brought an idea of soft starts to our building. And through some work that our team is going to talk about, we initiated a program with soft starts. Then it grew into morning meetings. And then this year we've added an even better part that I'll let our team talk about. And we even altered our schedule. And this isn't unique to Apple Valley. I know a lot of the elementaries have done this. So our bell is like 8:50, 8:55. And we took our master schedule and said, rather than starting right at 9, let's start at 9:15. We can value those 15 minutes, and it turns out to be about 20 for some of them. And that's when our day starts. And so between this 8:50, 8:55, and 9:15 it's morning time. And it's really impactful. You'll see it in a variety of ways as they're going to share, but that made a difference to our kids. It made a difference to the relationships our kids are making, not with our staff in particular, but with one another. And from our youngest TK up to our 5th graders, we're going to talk to you about the soft starts and morning meetings that just build the relationship and kind of the atmosphere of Apple Valley. So I'll introduce our team. Jordan Lambert, 1st grade teacher. Mandy Panatoni, 3rd grade. Kristen Williams, our instructional coach. And then Megan Alderson, our counselor. So I will let them start on the presentation. It's our building. I'm very loud. That's why I don't use the microphone. And I'll pull it up here, but I'll let you guys go. I don't need it. I'm loud. Okay.
It does help if you're near the microphone for the people that are at home watching at home.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm going to start talking about our soft start. So a soft start is a soft way to start the day, and it was probably more typical with younger grades, and Brandy Vanderbrake brought it to us a couple years ago, and so 3rd grade kind of adopted it. I know 1st grade does it, kinder, TK, and some other teachers as well. The kids come in, and we have that like 15-minute time block from 8:45 when the bell rings to 9 o'clock when the kids trickle in. And they do their daily jobs where they put away their backpacks, take out their folders, make their lunch choices. And after they've done those, then they choose an activity to do. So the activities range from games such as Uno, like the card game, headbands, Battleship, Jenga, or STEM activities like Magnetiles or Legos. And they just gather around an activity spot, dominoes, and they play together, they work together, they talk together, and it's a really good way. It's an equitable way to start the day. It helps teach them social skills, especially after the COVID, like they're learning to play together, work together, and they work on tactile strategies when they're building. They work with cooperating with each other. It's really cool because they will go to the activity they want to do. So sometimes they play or work with kids that they don't normally choose, but they're there and they get to interact with some other kiddos. It helps build relationships. It's really cool because kids want to come in the morning. They want to be here so that they can do soft starts. They want to come so that they can start the day talking with their friends, playing games, doing these activities. And it's just really powerful to see because they'll come in and they'll be like, oh, I'm first. oh, you're second, you're third. And then they like discuss like what they're gonna do, and they take it out, so it's totally student choice. It's something that the supplies at first were kind of hard. Mrs. Vanderbrake got a scholarship, and that helped get some of the activities. And we also did some yard sales last year and some other resources through community outreach and just asking parents like, hey, if your kids aren't playing with these Magnetiles or Lincoln Logs, could you donate them? Because we would love to have them in our classrooms. And so we got some stuff with that. It'd be really cool to expand because after a while the kids want to do another activity. So we have these, we have an area where we pull out new games or new activities for them. But it's just a really good way for them to start their day. They really enjoy it. And it's nice because as teachers, we can come and interact with them and see what they're doing after we greet them at the door. And it's just a super powerful relationship builder. And I think it's really helped get our days started.
So from soft start, we lead into our morning meeting, which is about 9 o'clock. So before that, though, we have a whole school pledge at 8:57. And I feel like most of us, that's about the time we stop soft start and the kids clean up. So my class personally does the pledge, and then we turn around and we do our class family promise, which we wrote together. It has our Cougar standards in it and other things we came up with. And then we lead into our morning meeting at about 9 o'clock. And morning meeting looks different in every classroom in our school, which is what makes it so fun. Some of us use slides. Some of us use these cool little morning meeting chips that Heidi got us. I'll just read a couple, for example, like describe your favorite food. And one of my favorite things about these is like I tell the kids, it doesn't say tell me your favorite food, it says describe it. So they have to describe their macaroni and cheese or their pizza without saying that word. What snack food best describes your personality and why? That one's fun. This one makes them think a little harder. Are you a great friend and why do you think so? And then my most favorite, which I should probably bring back out to my class, would you prefer a tiger-sized hamster or a hamster-sized tiger? And so it's just fun to go around and answer these questions. So my class, we sit in a circle at our rug, and we always talk about why are we sitting in a circle? We're sitting in a circle so we can all see each other when each person is talking. We talk about our rules often of morning meeting, which is listening to understand, not listening to respond. We're learning how to have conversations and how to really listen to what people are saying. And so if you agree with what someone is saying, we use this hand signal, which we learned from Mrs. Alderson, which is I agree. Instead of shouting out like, oh my gosh, that's my favorite food too. You just do this, and then your friends know that you feel the same. We also in my class on Mondays, it's always a weekend review, or Tuesday, whatever, if we don't have school Monday, and they get to share something they did over the weekend. And we talk often about sometimes we do nothing and that's okay. And sometimes we do fun things. And so it's nice to listen to your friends share and hear that, oh my gosh, they sat on their couch and played video games all weekend like me, or they went to the trampoline park or, the zoo, whatever. And then the rest of the week, I also let my kids, I'll draw sticks and I'll let my kids come up with a question. So for today, one of my littles wanted to know everyone's favorite football team, and it was really fun. So hearing them, a lot of kids saying the Kansas City Chiefs right now, a lot of Seahawks, and I agree. And then the 49ers, but the 49ers are the Seahawks enemies, just like the conversations that come from it. And so one of the things I did, which I'm not going to read, but you guys can take a look at, I had my kids talk about why we do all these things. And so they came up with all their reasons why we do a morning greeting, then we do soft start, then morning meeting. And from morning meeting, my kids go and do an affirmation. And so they go to the mirror and they say something positive about themselves. They can whisper it, they can mouth it, or they can say it out loud. I don't want to embarrass anybody. So however they want to do it, they say something positive about themselves, and then we are just like ready to start our day. So
one of the things that we identified this year was a need for some students to have extra time and support to meet whatever it is that they're going through at a given point in the school year. And we were trying to figure out how can we get kids in groups to talk about the things that they have in common but not miss instructional time. And so then Heidi was like, hey, why not morning meeting time? And I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, why not? So we have this cool room called the Den, and it's kind of like I don't know, like a student community space. Before we had the new school built, I was able to get some grants, and it's just like a really comfortable place where kids can feel connected and belong and build friendships. So it's never a bad thing to go to the Den. They just love to go. And so we had this group of kids that needed some extra supports, and we're like, okay, we're going to be meeting in the Den a couple times a week. We're going to do it during soft start morning meeting time, and they're so excited. And the cool part about that is we've created this little mini community, depending upon the needs, where it's kids from other classes that don't usually get to see each other, or my favorite part is kids from different grade levels. So right now I have a group of kids where it's a combination of 3rd grade and 4th grade, and they're making new friends and connections. And the 4th graders are mentoring the 3rd graders because they reflect back, oh, I remember what it was like to be a 3rd grader. Like, here's some ideas for you. So the neat part about having these little small groups that we can do at the very beginning of the school day is we get to start our day with people like we care about. And so the best part is we smile, we laugh. Sometimes there might be some tears or some frustration, but we've built this relationship with each other. And I've gotten to like witness this beautiful thing where other kids are mentoring peers, coaching them, challenging them, having them come up with new ideas of things that come up during their week. So just to conclude, I wanted to share with you a couple things that kids have brought up. And just for background, everything that we do is based around social emotional learning's core competencies. So we talk about self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, social awareness, and relationship skills. So throughout all of this, we're doing different activities together. We're playing games, we're doing strategies. And so when the students can reflect to me what they've gotten out of it, I feel like we're doing a great thing. So one of the kids told me, I feel like I've grown with my coping methods. I had a lot more anxiety before we started the group. This one kind of shocked me. Before the current group schedule, it felt like you were being singled out by being pulled out during class time. Now it feels private. You get to talk about your problems and find ways to solve them. It's nice to hear other people's ideas and opinions. And then this is my favorite. We have learned that we are not alone. Even though on the outside, others look like they have perfect lives, they also have similar problems that we are going through together. So it just kind of connects that whole sense of like community and relationships that we're trying to achieve with soft starts and morning meetings.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the last piece that we've implemented just this school year, which is Friday trivia. We do morning announcements here and there throughout the week as needed. The board just heard about our PBS system implementing on the buses. So before we get into the trivia, one of the things we do is we announce those bus riders of the week over the intercom, so students get to hear that. So I thought that was a nice tie-in with what the demonstration you just heard. So again, it's during the 9 to 9:15 time. Classrooms don't know exactly when this is going to happen, but they know it's going to be on Friday. So it's become a very hot item. We will do the little ding, 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 get on the intercom, and then often we start with some thematic music. So one example was a while back we started the announcement, and it was the I survived story, or I will survive. And then we've kind of given them, they know now that sometimes there's a little clue in the music that's being played. So the question that day was, who was the author of the I Survived series? And then what we do is we have classes, and I'll say, okay, I want, today we're looking for caller number 9 and extension 2110. And Mrs. Wells, our secretary, she is quickly answering, your caller number 1, your caller number 2. And then when she gets to caller number 9, we put it on intercom, and there's a group of us there that then listen to the answer. And it was Lauren, I can never say her name. Tarshis, thank you.
And then we all cheer, and then they know that they won. They were the winner that week. So we try to think of a trivia question that's going to make kids want to be in class on time, want to come to school, and that is applicable for all of our kids K through 5. So that can get tricky. So we usually come up with thematic, time of year questions. That class won an I Survived book for their classroom library, and then all of the kids got a bookmark. So we kind of kept it thematically related. Right before spring break, the question was, what part of a rabbit never stops growing?
Anyone know?
You may know.
Caller number.
I know. Caller number 9? Their teeth. So I know we have a couple new school board members, but if you come to Apple Valley, we make you participate. So we're going to play a little round. I'm going to give you one that we asked our classes last fall. So there's a little hint. And I'll just take a hand in the air. So I'm going to say caller number 1. So this was a question, incorporates a little math. How many players are on the field during a regulation NFL football game? Mr. Heed.
11.
No, we had that guess. 22. We tricked a few classrooms on that one too, but it's fun. It's building that sense of community in our building. We have learned which teachers are very competitive and which students are very competitive. The kids will come up to us and find one of us, and if there's no school on a Friday, they will say, we're doing trivia still, right? We're still going to do it on Thursday or on Monday. And we're like, you'll just have to wait and see when that little ding, ding, ding comes on. So it's just another way to get kids to want to be at school. That is our goal with all of our aspects to our morning entry, is make the day set off to a good start, make them want to be here attendance-wise and enjoy being at Apple Valley.
Awesome. So just in conclusion, a little summary there. 2 of our friends here walking down the hall. I happen to be behind, and I thought, what a great picture of them as they're walking out. But getting a day off to a great start. Daily environment of joy. It's communication. It's common respect, as you've heard. All of our interventions and even the fun trivia is just a way that we support our Apple Valley Cougar Pride. And I just want to thank these gals for working on it. It's a great process. If you talk to our kids, like, trivia is just to die for right now. But again, just to watch these little ones build. We just met on a kindergartner this afternoon, and that teacher said, you know what, their math and their reading and writing is not coming along. But you know what I've noticed about their kid? This is a tactile child. This is a child who can build. This is a child who thinks outside the box. And I love to hear that. And that's what she's noticed during the soft start. So to our team, thank you very much. And we'll open it up for questions. If you guys have any questions for them, comments. Yeah, feel free. I didn't use microphone.
Well, I'd be one of those kids that would ask when the trivia would be happening, and I'd be that kid.
I really appreciate the presentation. Executive function is a skill that our children are building in this morning time. Executive function is the ability to self-regulate and to make choices and to stay on task. And those are all life skills that our students need as they go through the whole system and graduate. So it's great to see your focus on building those executive function skills. Thank you. Any questions for Heidi and the team? All right, well, let's give them a hand. Thank you so much.
Giving Stephanie a second. We're on to item 7, which is the public comment period. Stephanie is looking. Nobody's signed up. The public comment period is a time where the public, if they signed in, would have their opportunity to speak with the school board about any topic that they would like. It is a public comment period, and the public comment period is not a proper forum to address concerns about a specific staff member. If a person has a concern about a specific staff member, they're urged to make an appointment with Dr. Finch to discuss those matters. Since we've had nobody sign up, I'll go ahead and open it up to anybody that would like to speak with the board at this time. If you'd step up to the microphone over there, we would appreciate it. Seeing that nobody is racing up to the microphone, I'll close the public comment period. On to item 8, which is approval items. There are 2 this evening, which are minutes from our study session and school board meeting on March 26th. I'd entertain a motion. Those were in our packet. I'd entertain a motion to approve those minutes as presented.
So moved.
Thank you. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Item 9, items arising. Item 10, superintendent's report.
Yeah, the superintendent's report, this meeting was an opportunity for me to highlight the teamwork, continuous improvement, and authentic family engagement that we have in our outreach to families of students who are Native American. So our Director of State and Federal Programs, Geraldine Ashbaugh, our Director of Family and Community Engagement, Minerva Pardo, and high school teacher Sean John have worked together to increase our outreach this year. We had a nice event in November that was a convening. From that work in November, we've been able to get the certifications needed to apply for Title VI funds. Those are federal funds to assist students who are Native American. And so we're anticipating close to $13,000 next year that we'll have to provide services, additional services and enrichment for students who are Native American. The timeline is that the parent group will be meeting with the district representatives. They'll come up with a plan for the use of the funds. We'll bring that to the next school board meeting and have a public hearing at the meeting to have additional public comment if needed or as needed. And then after that, we'll take the public comment and finalize the plan for the upcoming school year. So I just really appreciate this work and to increase services to our students. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Thank you, Dr. Finch. Item 11 is board reports, board development. None this evening. Okay. Item 12 is an executive session for the performance of a public employee. Dr. Finch informs me that we will need 30 minutes to discuss, and we will come out of executive session at approximately the top of the hour, 8 o'clock, and taking no action. And at that time, we'll adjourn the school board meeting. So with that, we'll go into executive session. We're going to add 15 minutes onto this executive session. It's 8:14 and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.